It's time for Hamilton Southeastern basketball on Audio Sports Online. Tonight, after about a 3-week layoff, the Hamilton Southeastern Royals get back into action as they take on the Harrison Raiders in a Hoosier Crossroads Conference matchup. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Hamilton Southeastern High School for tonight's contest. My name is Brian Scott. The Royals, they haven't played since back on December 15th when they knocked off Zionsville. They've had about a 3-week layoff. And through all that, they're going to get back into action tonight to start the new year, as they'll have a couple of games, one tonight, one tomorrow night at Muncie Central. You'll be able to catch both of those games right here on Audio Sports Online. But before we have tonight's varsity contest, the junior varsity will take to the court, and let's go ahead and give you the starting lineups tonight. First, for the Harrison Raiders, the coach of the JV team is Josh Cox, and his lineup will have a 3-guard look. Starting at a guard is a 5'8 sophomore, Tanner Watkins. At the other guard is a 5'9 sophomore, Matt Bauder. The third guard is a 5'9 sophomore, Jake Fernung. At the wing is a 6'2 freshman, Ethan Stetler, and at the other wing is a 6'2 sophomore, Rhett Baxter. So once again, for the Raiders in the backcourt, it will be Watkins, Bauder, and Fernung, and up front, Stetler and Baxter. That's the starting lineup for the JV Harrison Raiders. For head coach Calvin Bembry of the JV Royals, his lineup's going to look fairly familiar. Starting at a guard is a 5'11 junior, Mason Hankins. The other guard is a 5'11 junior, Max Hankins. The third guard is a 6'3 junior, Grant Leach. At forward, a 6'6 junior, it's Jack Kramer. And the other forward is a 6'3 sophomore, Ty Scholl. Once again, for the JV Royals, it'll be Max and Mason Hankins at the guard, along with Grant Leach. And up front, Jack Kramer and Ty Scholl. That's your starting lineup tonight in the junior varsity contest as we get ready for basketball here at Hamilton Southeastern High School. Expecting a bit of a sparse crowd as the kids are not back in school yet. They will return to the classrooms next week. And the Royals, after a 3-week layoff, we had asked Coach Satterfield before the Royals played Zionsville what the plans were, and he was going to give the team a good week off and then hit it between Christmas and New Year's, and then start the new year off right and see if they can get a couple of wins. It will be Jack Kramer jumping center against Ethan Stetler. The ball's in the air, and the Royals have the ball to begin this basketball game as Max Hankins has it, gives to Mason, looking over at Harrison Raider, man-to-man defense. Grant Leach with the basketball, gives it right side to Ty Scholl. Scholl feels Kramer, and Kramer puts it up and in. So good ball movement by the Hamilton Southeastern Royals leads to the first bucket of this contest. And now a steal as Max Hankins anticipates the pass. He'll get the bucket, and quickly a timeout called by Harrison. A 30-second timeout as Hamilton Southeastern with some good ball movement on their initial possession. And then Max Hankins, watching the telegraph pass, just simply cut it off and took it to the rim. And Hamilton Southeastern is out in front by the score of 4-0, just underway here in this first minute or so of this JV contest. We'll remind you, we have a full day of basketball, Royals basketball for you tomorrow here on Audio Sports Online. The ladies will take the court at noon as they travel to McCutcheon, and then we will be hauling rear, as they said, to the other side of the state as Coach Satterfield's squad will take on the Bearcats of Muncie Central. Both those games right here on Audio Sports Online. Raiders get it into the front court. Ethan Stetler will hand the ball off to Rhett Baxter. They move it around. 3-ball from the corner. That's no good. Rebound and is going up with it was Matt Bauder. A whistle will stop play, and Bauder will earn a trip to the free throw line. First foul of the contest will go against Hamilton Southeastern. And it will go against Grant Leach. That's his first. First team foul against the Royals, and Bauder with a pair of free throws gets that one to roll around and drop. One more free throw for Bauder as the Raiders get their first points here in the JV game from the charity stripe. Second free throw, that one rattles around and falls out, and here come the Royals into the front court. Left side, Max Hankins dribbles, gives it up to Grant Leach, top of the key, back to Hankins. Three ball on its way. That's no good. Scholl with a rebound, and as he goes up, a whistle and a foul will be called against Harrison. And Ty Scholl will be going to the free throw line. Ethan Stetler will be called for the Raiders' first personal foul, and Ty Scholl is at the line for two. First free throw is up. It is good. Excuse me. Second free throw, no good. And the rebound's controlled by Red Baxter of the Raiders as they quickly move it into the front court. They move it around to Vaughter, back up top to Baxter, to Vaughter again, and then he finds Josiah Heath, who got the start, instead of Tanner Watkins. And now here's a close to a steal as Jack Kramer got his hands on the basketball, but he can't save it. And we'll stay down here in the Raider front court. 4:43 left to go, opening quarter of play. Hamilton Southeastern with a 5-1 lead in this junior varsity contest. And now here is almost a steal as having a tough time. Tanner Watkins actually is in the game. We saw some differences, I guess, in the lineup. Watkins almost lost it, but it went off of a Royal, and the Raiders will still look for their first bucket from the field. Into the hands of Baxter. Baxter drives baseline, tries to put it up. Rejected from behind by Grant Leach. Grant will take it, lay it off of the glass. Too strong. It'll be tied up underneath as Ty Scholl and Red Baxter tie it up, and the possession arrow will favor the Harrison Raiders. Raiders will take it out from the baseline, looking over a 2-2-1 press by Southeastern. And Watkins gets the ball, loses it briefly, and now the ball will go out of bounds off of Grant Leach as Josiah Heath was trying to hit Matt Vaughter. And Grant got a fingertip on the basketball and sends it out of bounds, and the ball will stay in the possession of the Raiders. A couple of minutes in here in this JV game, Royals up by 4. Right side, this is Baxter, feeds it down into the post. They'll send it back out. Making a move is Vaughter. He loses the basketball. Coming away with it is Ty Scholl. And getting a hand on it was Vaughter, but then Scholl evidently got a fingertip on it, so they'll say the ball belongs to Harrison. Throwing it into the backcourt to Matt Vaughter as he brings it back out into the front court. Near side, this is Baxter. Looks briefly down in the low post, instead kicks it back out. Watkins with the basketball, working on Mason Hankins, kicks it out. Here's Josiah Heath, 4-3, and he hits. First bucket from the field for the Raiders is a 3-ball, and they cut the deficit to 1, 5-4. Mason Hankins drives, backs it out to Kramer. Mason will get it back to Kramer, to Grant Leach, back to Mason Hankins. Mason will give it to Max, down low to Scholl, back out to Max, good inside-outside action. Max can't hit the 3, and Stetler has the rebound for Harrison. Harrison looking for their first lead in this contest. They trail 5-4 as we're about halfway through the first quarter, and standing wide all alone underneath the basket was Tanner Watkins. And a 30-second timeout called by head coach Calvin Bembry, the JV Royals, as a defensive lapse right there leaves Tanner Watkins all alone underneath the basket for an easy 2. And it'll give the Raiders their first lead in this contest. They lead 6-5. And exactly halfway through this opening quarter of play, you're watching Royals basketball on audiosportsonline.com. Brian Scott with you here at Hamilton Southeastern tonight. A short week, but a busy week for Royals basketball. The ladies were in action last night at Warren Central, and they came away with a 61-31 victory. The game that was tight through the first half of that contest, and then the Lady Royals of Coach Chris Uppenthal blew that game open in the second half. Mason Hankins will go to Max Hankins, as Coach Calvin Bembry is going to flip the roster here. 5 new players set to come in at the next dead ball. Here's Mason Hankins, spin in the lane right from the free throw line. Nice little one-handed runner And Mason Hankins has his first points. Raiders will get it down into the front court. Stetler up top to Baxter. Baxter dribbles down right side, loses the basketball, but it's going to get bailed out as a foul is going to be called against Southeastern. Grant Leach will be called for his second personal foul, and now, as I mentioned, Coach Bembry is going to flip the roster. 5 new players. It'll be Dominique Hill, Josiah Johnson, Brock Sanders, Keegan Kohlmeyer, and Tim Ford. So 5 new Royals out on the court right now, leading 7-6. Here's a ball tip, but it's off of a Royal, so the Raiders can retrieve it into the backcourt with no penalty. Here is Baxter, his little ball fake, stepped up, misses a shot, but chasing down the rebound was Vaughter. Heath directing traffic. Gives it up. Here comes Jake Ferning. He'll have to back it out. In the lane is Vaughter. Vaughter makes a move, and he'll be called for steps. Turnover gives the ball to Hamilton Southeastern. They lead by 1, 7-6. 1:55 left to go, opening period of play. As they get the ball into the hands of Tim Ford. Tim will drive. He'll leave it off to Keegan Kohlmeyer. Kohlmeyer to Sanders. Sanders to Hill. Hill tries to give to Johnson, but a kick out on the inside-outside play. And the shot, the 3 ball by Kohlmeyer was no good, and the Raiders get the rebound. Driving in the lane, Jake Ferning. He'll have to kick it out. Now ball stolen by Sanders. Sanders left side gives it to Kohlmeyer, and Kohlmeyer will back it out to Ford. Tim over to Dominique Hall. Hall still looking for somebody to give the ball to. Gives it to Kohlmeyer as we approach 1 minute left to play in this first quarter. Driving down the lane, here's Kohlmeyer. He leaves it off to Hall, and Hall finishes it off. Good job of penetration by Keegan. Leaves it off to a wide open Dominique Hall, and now here's a steal by Hall. Gives it to Brock Sanders. Sanders misses the shot, but there's Tim Ford to get the loose ball, put it back up and in, and Hamilton Southeastern is now up by 5 with 39.6 seconds remaining. They lead 11-6. This is Royals basketball on AudioSportsOnline.com. Brian Scott back with you at Hamilton Southeastern High School. JV Royals in action as they take on the Harrison Raiders. And right now, Coach Bembry's squad up in front by the score of 11-6. I want to wish those of you that are tuning in for the first time this year, very happy New Year. As January becomes a very busy month for both the boys and the girls squad. As we get ready for sectional action in February. Full court pressure applied by Hamilton Southeastern. They get the ball into the hands of Jake Ferning. He will lay the ball off, and finishing the play was Cameron Green, now into the game for the Harrison Raiders. Pull-up jumper is up. It is good as Keegan Kohlmeyer gets the bucket. Coming the other way is Matt Vaughter, and Vaughter is going to, or a foul is going to be called against Hamilton Southeastern. Brock Sanders will be charged with his first personal. It's the third team foul against the Royals. Raiders will, Stetler triggers the inbound from the baseline. Now it's tied up, and jump ball will be called as Jake Ferning tied up. Brock Sanders, among others, in there. Yeah, the 11 seconds left. Here is Hall, gives it to Ford with 3 seconds remaining. Sanders will put, Kohlmeyer puts up a 3. Not quite what they wanted out of that final possession. Kohlmeyer's three hits the rim, and after the end of one period of play, Hamilton Southeastern leads the Harrison Raiders by the score of 13-8. This is Royals basketball on ASO. One quarter in the books, and the Hamilton Southeastern JV Royals out in front of Harrison by the score of 13-8. Brian Scott with you here from Hamilton Southeastern High School tonight. Balanced scoring all across as 7 different Royals hit the scorer's book. Dominic Hall, Max Hankins, Keegan Kohlmeyer, Mason Hankins, Tim Ford, Jack Kramer, all credited with a bucket from the field, and Ty Scholl has a free throw. Meanwhile, for the Raiders, Josiah Heath's three leads the Raiders in scoring as to begin the second quarter of play. It will be Matt Vaughter, Ethan Stetler, Cameron Green, Randy Federa, and try to catch the other, Ethan Stetler. Those are the 5 on the floor for the Raiders. Here's a pull-up jumper just in front of the free throw line by Matt Vaughter. Vaughter has his first bucket from the field. It's a 13-10 Royals lead as they start the second quarter with Tyler Janney, Keegan Culp. Here's Chris Ford driving the lane. He laid it off to Brendan Burns, and then the three from Kohlmeyer is no good, and here come the Raiders the other way. And as Vaughter heads down the floor, comes to the right side of the lane, the ball will be knocked out of bounds by Hamilton Southeastern, and it will be the Raiders with the basketball. Looking to get the ball inbounds, they do to Stetler, and Stetler proceeds to just lose it right through his hands. Red Baxter will return for the Raiders. He'll take over for Ethan Stetler. Stetler looking for his first points. He has one foul. Nobody in serious foul trouble. Grant Leach does have a pair. And the Raiders have only committed one team foul. And here's a ball that's lost as Kohlmeyer looking to get Brendan Burns. Instead throws it away and into the hands of the Raiders. With the basketball is Randy Federa. Gives the ball to Baxter. Baxter drives in the lane. Little right-hand push shot. No good, but getting the rebound and putting it back up and in is Matt Vaughter for the Raiders. He has 5 points, and the deficit has been trimmed to 1 for Harrison. They trail 13-12, 4:40 left to go in the first half. Burns with the basketball gives it over to Chris Ford. Pull-up jumper by Kohlmeyer as he gets the feed, and Keegan Kohlmeyer hits from about 8 feet out. He has 4 points, and it's a 15-12 Royal advantage. Driving the lane is Matt Vaughter left side. He'll be clobbered from behind by Hamilton Southeastern, and Vaughter will head to the free throw line. Did not catch who the foul was on, as Vaughter's first free throw is no good. Max Hankins will come back in as he will take over for Keegan Kohlmeyer. They are still, scorer's bench, trying to figure out who they called the foul upon. As we will have a discussion over at the scorer's table. Tyler Janney was called for the foul. That's his first team foul, number 4. Vaughter still has 1 free throw remaining. He missed the first. He's now 2 of 3 from the line. He was 1 of 3. Make it 2 of 4. Tanner Watkins comes back for Harrison. Matt Vaughter will take a seat. Hamilton Southeastern leads 15-13. As Chris Ford up top to Janney, over to Max. Max dribbles the basketball up top. Here's Brendan Burns for three. That one's off the side of the rim. Tipped away by Culp. And he will get the rebound back. His three is long. And they'll say the ball went off of the foot of Watkins and belongs to Hamilton Southeastern. 4 minutes remain, and now a timeout. No, we'll have a foul before the inbounds. Foul's going to go against Chris Ford as Royals were setting up the inbound play. Ford committed the personal. It is the 15th foul against Hamilton Southeastern. And now a steal. Here goes Burns. He will give it to Culp to Burns, back to Culp again, and Culp finishes off the break. And now a long outlet pass goes up front. Cameron Green couldn't get a hold of it, trying to save it, I believe, was Brendan Burns. Instead, he hadn't established his position back into the court of play, and he's called for the violation. Hamilton Southeastern with a 17-13 lead, 3:38 left to go in this opening period, and opening half, I should say, and now traveling violation is getting the basketball was Matt Vaughter. Got trapped, looked like he was meaning to throw it off of a Royals, but instead he's called for traveling. So Hamilton Southeastern with a 4-point lead, 3:30 left to go first half. Here's Burns with the basketball. Up top, Chris Ford drives the lane, throws it up, shot no good, and we're going to have a foul called against Hamilton Southeastern on the rebound. Brendan Burns will pick up his first, but it is the 16th foul against Hamilton Southeastern. Cameron Green will take a seat for the Raiders. Ethan Stetler back in. 3:19 left to play, opening half, 17-13. In favor of Hamilton Southeastern. Long pass. Here's a 18-foot jumper up and good by Ethan Stetler. Stetler's first points. Hamilton Southeastern quickly into the front court, but Culp loses it. Here comes the Raiders, and now we'll have a palming violation. As making a spin move at midcourt was Ethan Stetler, but got a hand underneath the basketball, and he's called for palming. Mason Hankins back in. He's going to take over for his brother Max. As Max will take a seat, and before he does so, he's going to get some instruction from Coach Calvin Bembry. More than halfway through this second quarter, Royals with a 2-point lead. The basketball, Brendan Burns gives it to Chris Ford, right side to Mason. Here's Keegan Culp, right side down the lane, and he's called for traveling. Did everything but get a picture, a mugshot of who was clobbering him down the lane, and he looks for the foul, and instead will be called for, will get the traveling violation. This time the Raiders, another unforced error. They throw this ball out of bounds, and the ball goes back to Hamilton Southeastern, up by 2:36 left to go in this first half. Good crossover dribble, driving is Janney, and Janney is going to earn a trip to the free throw line on a blocking foul that looks like it will go against Ethan Stetler. That is the second foul against Stetler and only the second team foul against Harrison, as Tyler Janney is at the line to shoot a pair. First free throw is short. And Janney will step back up to the line for one more. Second free throw is true. It's Janney's first point. It's a 3-point Southeastern lead, 2:26 left to go in the second quarter. Raiders get it over, but now a ball stolen by Mason Hankins. He leaves it to Chris Ford. Ford misses the layup. And now losing control himself is Matt Vaughter, as trying to dribble and run at the same time, and ends up not doing either of them very well and has to give up the basketball. Here's Keegan Culp. Nice move. Drives. Little teardrop floater is up and good. Culp with his second bucket. And the lead's up to 5 with under 2 minutes left to play in the first half. Here's the Raiders. Baxter drives baseline. Tried to send it down the baseline to Valder, but pass is anticipated by Mason Hankins. Hankins knocks it out of bounds, but Coach Josh Cox is going to call a timeout with a minute 52 left to play in the first half. Hamilton Southeastern leads Harrison by the score of 20-15. This is Royals basketball on Audio Sports Online. We'll be back on the air tomorrow with a pair of games as the girls will travel to Lafayette to take on the McCutcheon Mavericks. JV game will begin at noon. Varsity game at 1:30. Yours truly will have the call. That will be audio only, and then we'll be hitting the road and traveling from Lafayette to Muncie so that we can bring you the boys game. That will be the Royals against the Muncie Central Bearcats. JV game, begins at 6 o'clock. Varsity game at 7:30. We will do our very best to see if we can get there in time for the start of the JV game, but we will be leaving Lafayette immediately at the conclusion of the girls' game to travel to Muncie. So we'll do everything in our power to get there by the time that game starts. Out of the timeout, same 5 on the court for Coach Bembry. Brendan Burns, Keegan Culp, Tyler Janney, Chris Ford, and Mason Hankins. They get the ball into the hands of Matt Valder. Valder's little turnaround jumper in front of the free throw line's no good. Rebound controlled by Culp. Gives it to Mason Hankins. Hankins finds Janney. Janney thought about the 3, drives the lane, throws it up, throws it in. Good move by Tyler Janney. His first bucket from the field. He has 3 points. The lead's up to 7. Here's a little turnaround jumper by Ethan Stetler that hangs on the rim forever before falling. And it's a 5-point game. Turnaround jumper at the free throw line by Culp is no good. And Chris Ford is going to head to the line as Ford and Stetler tied it up briefly. No additional fouls called. And it will be, they called the foul against Red Baxter. Chris Ford's at the line shooting a pair. And the first one falls off. I believe Josiah Johnson set to come in for Ford. Should Ford make the free throw? And he doesn't. Stetler with a rebound for Harrison. They trail by 5 with a minute 11 left to go in the first half. Stetler with the ball gives left side to Baxter. Baxter drives in the lane. Little jump stop. Gets the bucket and will head to the line. For Red Baxter, that's his first field goal tonight. And now he'll have a chance to make the 3-point play. Johnson will come in. He will come in for Ford. Baxter with 1 free throw. See if he can convert the 3-point play for the Raiders, which he does, and cuts that Royal lead down to 2 at 22-20. Mason, right side to Tyler Janney. Thought about the 3, kicked it out. Mason gives it over to Burns. Burns back to Mason. Brendan with the basketball now, kicks it out to Tyler. Tyler, a little teardrop, gets the bucket, but they'll be waved off as they'll get Tyler for the player control foul. Be Tyler's second personal. It's the 17 foul, but no free throws. And Chris Ford will come back in as he takes over for Mason Hankins. 48.7 seconds remain in this first half. Hamilton Southeastern with a 22-20 lead in this junior varsity contest. Tanner Watkins left side, driving in the lane is Valter. Jump stop, puts the shot up, no good. Johnson with a rebound. Gives it to Tyler. Tyler, left side, driving baseline is Brendan Burns with a strong move to the cup. And he finishes the play to give the Royals a 4-point lead. Valder will drive it himself right side. He won't get the bucket, but he's going to earn a chip to the charity stripe as the foul is going to go against Hamilton Southeastern. It's against Janney, and that'll be Tyler's third personal. It's the 9th team foul against Hamilton Southeastern. I said 7th. It is actually their 9th a minute ago. And Valder is at the line to shoot a pair. So far, 2 of 4 from the line, make it 2 of 5. Austin Jarvinen now in. He will take over for Randy Federa. Meanwhile, Valder with one more free throw, another substitution as Luke Harris comes in for Red Baxter. 22.9 seconds remain, a 4-point lead for the Royals. Valder looking to cut it to 3 with a free throw here. And he misses both of them. Janney with a rebound. Tyler into the front court, left side Chris Ford. Brendan Burns all alone for 3, nails it. Brendan Burns now has 5 points. Southeastern's lead is at 7. 6 seconds remain as the clock winds down. Valder spins, loses it briefly. Here's Burns. Half-court shot is on its way off the top of the backboard. And that's the end of the first half of play. Royals ahead to the locker room with a 7-point lead after watching the Raiders try to make some runs to get it close. It's a 7-point Southeastern lead at the half. You're watching Royals basketball on Audio Sports Online. Welcome back to Hamilton Southeastern High School. Halftime of the junior varsity game. And right now the JV Royals up on top of the Harrison JV squad by the score of 27-20. Just about everybody getting into the act for Coach Calvin Bembry's JV squad. Currently leading the JV Royals with 5 points is Brendan Burns, 4 points each for Keegan Kohlmeyer and Keegan Culp. 3 points for Tyler Janney, 2 points each for Jack Kramer, Tim Ford, Mason Hankins, Dominic Call, and Max Hankins. 3 points, also for Tyler Janney. And 1 point for Ty Scholl. Leading all scorers currently with 6 points is the Raiders' Matt Vaughter. 4 points for Ethan Stetler. 3 points each for Red Baxter and Josiah Heath. 2 points for Tanner Watkins. And 2 points for Cameron Green. Hamilton Southeastern led after the first quarter by the score of 13-8. And they lead here at the break by the score of 27-20. I want to remind you once again that we'll have a full day of Royals basketball for you tomorrow, Saturday. We'll head to Lafayette as the Lady Royals will take on the McCutcheon Mavericks in a Hoosier Crossroads Conference matchup. JV game begins at high noon. Varsity game set to begin around 1:30. Then we will hit the road, move from Lafayette all the way over to Muncie as Coach Brian Satterfield's squad will take on the Muncie Central Bearcats. Both those games audio only. Yours truly with the call, so it'll be a busy, busy day for yours truly. Heading from Lafayette to Muncie as we wrap up a short week, but a busy week, as the students will be back in school next week here at Hamilton Southeastern. To begin the second half, it'll be Dominic Hall, Josiah Johnson, Grant Leach, Brock Sanders, and Tim Ford. Those are the five that will start the second half for head coach Calvin Bembry. And right now the Raiders are still huddled around Josh Cox. As they break the huddle there, we'll tell you who he starts here in the second half. Looks like it will be Josiah Heath, Matt Vaughter, Tanner Watkins, Ethan Stetler, and Red Baxter. Those are the starting five for the Raiders. It'll be the Royals with the basketball to begin the second half of play, moving left to right. Royals in the white, Raiders in the blue, and it's Tanner Watkins with a quick foul just 6 seconds into the third quarter. First team foul, against the Raiders here in the second half. Tyler Janney, the only one in any serious foul trouble. He has 3 for the Royals. Ethan Stetler with a couple of fouls for the Raiders. Giving up the ball, here's Tim Ford. He gives it to Sanders, back to Ford, back to Sanders. Sanders back out to Dominique Hall. Hall will give it over to Ford. Ford drives baseline. A little right-hand floater's no good, and as Josiah Johnson gets the rebound, he'll be fouled underneath. This will be the second team foul to go against Harrison, and we're not even 30 seconds into the third quarter. 27-20 foul was against Baxter, his second. Here's the Raiders with a steal. They'll get it up front to Watkins. Watkins will put it up and get the bucket. Tanner Watkins now has 4 points, and the first points of the second half belong to the Raiders. They trail by 5. Pull-up jumper, right elbow is up, and it is good by Tim Ford. And it's a 29-22 Southeastern lead as we are a minute into this third quarter of play. Vaughter gives it to Baxter. Back over to Vaughter to Heath. His ball is stolen, and laying it up and laying it in is Grant Leach. Grant with his first 2 points of the contest. And it's a 9-point Royals lead. Baxter blocked from behind by Johnson. Here comes Grant the other way, leaves it off for Sanders' little runner is no good. And here come the Raiders into the front court. Vaughter drives all the way, gets the bucket, and draws the foul. Nobody really wanted to stop the ball right there, and Vaughter split two Royals defenders. And in the end, Royals are going to be called for their first foul of the second half, but it'll be the third against Grant Leach. Matt Vaughter will try to complete the three-point play. Vaughter misses, and the rebound comes down to Tim Ford. Royals lead by 7, 4:19 left to go, third quarter. Sanders loses it briefly to Dominique Hall. Hall tripped up, no foul called, and the ball ends up in the hands of Harrison. Harrison comes the other way, left side. This is Stetler as the Raiders move it around. Back up top to Vaughter. And they get into the hands of Cameron Green. Green guarded by Josiah Johnson will kick the ball out to Vaughter. Vaughter will drive in, loses the basketball. Ball is still loose, and Dominique Hall will pick it up for the Royals. And he tries to get it to Johnson. Johnson lost it. Ethan Stetler trying to kick it back in. One of the few Cardinal sins is throwing it back in under your opponent's glass, and sometimes Stetler was on the line. A couple of substitutions as Sanders and Hall will leave. Ty Scholl is back in, and now we got both Fords, Chris and Tim, out on the court at the same time. This is Tim Ford with the basketball. Tim guarded by Josiah Heath. We'll give it up to Grant. Grant Leach with the basketball. He'll now give it over to Chris Ford. Chris over to Tim. Back over to Chris. Chris drives left the lane. Throws a shot up. No good. Ty Scholl has the rebound, but it's blocked from behind. And the Raiders come the other way. Even Stetler might have got it, but just like that, Grant Leach comes away with the ball, and here comes Hamilton Southeastern. Three ball from the wing is on its way. It's up. It's good by Tim Ford. Tim Ford with 7 points and a quick timeout as the Royals enjoy their biggest lead of the contest by 10. 34-24, 3:07 left to go in this third quarter. This is Royals basketball on Audio Sports Online. I want to remind everybody that all of our games that have been done on video are also available not only from audiosportsonline.net or .com, but also on our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, look up Audio Sports Online, and all the video games that we do throughout the year will be located there as well. That'll allow you to email them to friends and family, share them on Facebook, post them to Twitter, whatever you like to do. All courtesy of Audio Sports Online. Out of the timeout, same five will be on the court. Grant Leach, Chris and Tim Ford, Ty Scholl, and Josiah Johnson. Raiders looking at a press. They get it into the front court. Green with the basketball, kicks it over to the right wing. Stetler's three is no good, and coming down with it is Tim Ford. Into the front court he goes, gives it up to Grant Leach. Leach nowhere to go. He's cut off defensively. Gets the basketball back from the wing. Feeds it to Johnson in the high post. Johnson loses it briefly, still loses it, and coming away with it is Jake Ferning. Royals with a 10-point lead, 2:25 left to go third quarter. Three ball on the way is no good by Josiah Heath. Gets the long rebound, goes up with it, and he will head to the free throw line as the foul is going to go against the Royals. Ty Scholl will be called for his first personal, second team foul against Southeastern. And Josiah Heath will have two free throws. Heath's first free throw is up and good. Heath, shown on the varsity roster, going to get a couple of quarters here in the JV game. Stetler will leave. Rhett Baxter returns. One more free throw for Heath. He sinks them both. It's an 8-point Royal lead. 2:19 left to go in the third quarter. Well, the ball is Chris Ford. Leaves it to Ty Scholl. Will go back to Chris, and now he's going to be stripped by Tanner Watkins. Watkins drives, leaves it with a right hand. Too strong. Coming down with it is Ford. Long outlet pass to Johnson. Johnson with a right hand finishes it off. Josiah with his first points. And the lead's back to 10 at 36-26. Here's a shot, quick one. It's a 2, as they'll say Tanner Watkins' foot was on the line. And it back to an 8-point Royal lead, but just as quickly the other way, Grant Leach will launch a 3, and this one he will hit. And the lead's now 11 at 39-28. A minute 22 left to go, third quarter. Junior varsity game to follow as the 6th-ranked Royals take on the Raiders. Here's a steal by Scholl. He will give it to Leach. Leach will try to give it to Ford, but Ford can't hold on to it. And the ball stolen by Harrison. Watkins to Heath. Feeds it underneath to Green, and Green finishes the play. Cameron Green with 4 points. And it's a 39-30 Royals lead. 52 seconds remain in the third quarter. Dribbling the ball is Tim Ford. Shot from the left elbow is no good. Rebound controlled by Baxter for Harrison. Give it to Watkins, to Baxter, over to Heath. 37 seconds remain in the third quarter. Royals with a 9-point lead. Heath looks down to Green in the low post, guarded by Johnson. Dribbling left side was Ferning. He'll give it over to Heath. His 3-ball is no good. Long outlet pass to Tim Ford, but Tim loses the basketball as Ferning comes away with it. And going all the distance, Jake Fernan has his first points. 7 seconds remain as Tim Ford, not paying attention to the clock, now has to heave a 3 at the last second. It's no good, and that's the end of the third quarter. Hamilton Southeastern will head to the fourth quarter. They lead Harrison by the score of 39-32. Royals basketball in ASL. Brian Scott back with you from Hamilton Southeastern High School as the junior varsity contest enters its fourth quarter. And it's the Royals leading the Raiders from Harrison by the score of 39-32. An even quarter was the third. Both teams scoring 12 points apiece to keep it a 7-point lead for Southeastern. Grant Leach with 5 points in the quarter, as was the case with Tim Ford. To begin the fourth quarter, it'll be Mason Hankins, Max Hankins, Jack Kramer, Brendan Burns, and Keegan Kohlmeyer. It is the Raiders, however, that will have the ball to begin the fourth quarter. Ethan Stetler, Austin Jarvinen, as Stetler gets, that was Matt Valder. He got trapped on the baseline. Ball is loose. Mason Hankins comes away with it. He'll give it to Kohlmeyer. Brendan Burns shoots for the 3. It's no good. There's Mason Hankins, though, with the rebound and the put back up and in. Mason now has 4 points. The lead is up to 9 as we are just underway in the fourth quarter of the JV game. Varsity game to follow. This is Ethan Stetler. Gives it over to Fedora. To Green, and here is a steal. Mason with the basketball, lays it up, lays it in. Mason Hankins has got 2 quick buckets. The lead's up to 11, and that's going to cause the Raiders to call a full timeout. With 5:04 left to go in this fourth quarter, Hamilton Southeastern leads Harrison by the score of 43-32. You're watching Royals basketball on Audio Sports Online. Hope everybody had an excellent holiday break. So far, the Royals looking fairly good, especially considering they have been off for almost 3 weeks. They last played back on the 15th when they took on the Zionsville Eagles, and they have gone exactly 3 weeks since they have last played a game. They've done some inter-squad scrimmages. Coach Satterfield gave his team pretty much a full week off. And see how they react here after the 3-week layoff. So far for the JV team, looking fairly crisp. Getting a lot of people into the scorebook. Raiders throw it inbounds. This is Matt Vaughter with the basketball. And we have a whistle as Vaughter makes a move. And the foul's going to go against Hamilton Southeastern. Mason Hankins will be called for the foul. That's his first. 13 foul against the Royals. Royals had the Raiders in the bonus in the first half, though the Raiders never really did get to the free throw line. It's an 11-point Royal lead, 4:52 left to go in the contest. This is Austin Jarvin, and he'll kick it back out. It's Tanner Watkins over to Stetler. Stetler back to Watkins. Watkins guarded by Max Hankins. We'll give the ball up top to Vaughter. Vaughter, right side. This is Fedora. Back over to Vaughter into the hands of Stetler, and as Mason Hankins comes to greet Stetler, he's going to be called for the personal. Mason's second, team foul number 4 against the Royals in the second half. Luke Harris will re-enter. He'll take over for Austin Jarvinen for Harrison's JV squad. 4:30 left to go in the game. Hamilton Southeastern up by 11. Stetler, 3-ball from the wing, is on its way long, and now it will go out of bounds, and Raiders looking for a foul as they thought one of the Royals had pushed down Vaughter. But as we've watched the Raiders most of this game, they spend a lot of time on the court. Here's a drive through the lane. Mason Hankins has 6 points in this fourth quarter, and the lead is its biggest it's been all night long at 13, 45-32. Vaughter will give it to Federa, and it'll be poked out of bounds by Hamilton Southeastern, and Federa will inbound it from in front of his bench. Now it's stolen. Kohlmeyer takes it, lays it up, lays it in. That's one of those plays where Kohlmeyer slapped at the basketball, but it hit the official who was inbounds, and that's a live ball. And Kohlmeyer raced, picked it up, and finished off the play. So good awareness by Keegan. One of those deals that the officials, when they are in the court of play, it's a live ball. And as the Raiders inbounded the basketball, Keegan slapped at it, knocked it into the official, which knocked it back in play. And Keegan took the ball and raced and finished off the fast break. So it's a 15-point Southeastern lead. 3:55 remains in this fourth quarter. Out of the timeout, same 5, it'll be Max Hankins, Jack Kramer, Brendan Burns, Keegan Kohlmeyer, and Mason Hankins. Mason Hankins, 6 points here in this fourth quarter. He has all 6 of the Royals' points, as Southeastern has gone on a 6-0 run to begin the fourth quarter. So the Raiders will inbound, and they'll look again over a bit of a full-court press. They'll get it into the front court as Ferning will give it to Stetler. Stetler's 3 is long. Ball almost gets away from the Raiders, but here's a 3 on its way. Shot no good by Federa. And the Royals bring it the other way. Skip pass over to Max Hankins, almost loses the basketball, and this time he'll throw it into the backcourt. And that'll be an over and back violation, as they'll say no Raider touched the basketball. 47-32, that's our score. Junior varsity game to follow here on ASO as the 6th-ranked Royals get back into the swing of things. Right side, and now up top to Ferning. Jake Ferning drives, throws it high off the glass, no good. Max Hankins with a rebound for Southeastern. He will take it, lay it up with a scoop shot with the right hand, and he will get the basket. Max Hankins now with 4 points, 49-32. That's our score as we are halfway through this fourth quarter of play. Driving with a left-handed dribble is Randy Federa, and whistle will stop play, and the foul will go against Southeastern. Keegan Kohlmeyer will pick up his first personal, 15 foul against Southeastern in this second half. The Raiders with only 2 team fouls. And on the inbound, a little bit of miscommunication, but fortunately for the Raiders, Harris was able to get it, but stealing the basketball was Jack Kramer, and as he got it to Mason Hankins, Mason had a nice drive to the basket going on the right side, but a whistle stopped play as head coach Calvin Bembry called a timeout. With 2 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in this basketball game, Southeastern leads Harrison by the score of 49-32. This is Royals basketball on ASO. We're at Hamilton Southeastern High School, where tonight the Royals take on the Harrison Raiders. Junior varsity game has 2 minutes and 50 seconds remaining here in this contest, and it's the Royals with a 49-32 advantage. Afterwards, it'll be the 6th-ranked 8-1 Royals against the Harrison Raiders. But still a little bit of basketball left to be played here in the junior varsity game. Keegan Kohlmeyer with the basketball. He'll give it up to Brendan Burns. Burns looking to give it up to somebody. He throws it to Jack Kramer, and tying up down low will be Kramer and Luke Harris. And the Royals will get the ball in the alternating possession. Leaving is Randy Federa. Matt Vaughter will return. Vaughter with 8 points for the Raiders. Mason Hankins triggers the inbound, gets it to Jack Kramer, and a good job with the inbounds play, and it results in 2 points, and the Royals up by 19. Here's a shot by Watkins from about 20 feet. Shot's no good, and going after the loose ball, we'll have a foul called against Southeastern. Brendan Burns will be called for his second personal. It's the 16th foul against Southeastern. Ethan Stetler will leave, and Austin Jarvinen will come in. Cameron Green returns for the Raiders. He'll take over for Jake Ferning. 51-32 is our score. 2:27 remains. Looking to get the ball in. They do to Watkins. Watkins in amongst the trees. Had his shot blocked. Got his own ball back. Kicked it back out, and driving through the lane and getting bailed out is Matt Vaughter. He tried to split a couple of Royals defenders, was slipping, and they're going to call the Royals for the trip against Jack Kramer. 7th team foul, so at the line is Vaughter, though they're going to give him 2 free throws. Vaughter makes the first. And even though the Royals were in the lane if it was a 1-and-1, it actually was a 2-shot foul. Vaughter's second free throw is up, and he cans them both. Vaughter now with 10 points, but the Royals lead by 17. Mason Hankins with 6 points here in this fourth quarter. 8 points in the contest. Nice little pick and rolls. Brendan Burns is on the receiving end from Keegan Kohlmeyer. And the lead's back to 19 for Southeastern. Under 2 minutes left to go in this basketball game. Tanner Watkins, right side to Green. Green drives baseline. Tried to give it to Luke Harris. Ball's tipped away. Watkins gets it. He gives it to Harris. And Luke Harris has his first 2 points in this game. It's a 53-36 game with the Royals solidly in control. Long three ball by Kohlmeyer is no good. Rebound by Cameron Green. 1:18 left, and once again we have a Raider on the floor, and it is once again Matt Vaughter. Mason Hankins will pick up his third personal. It's the 8th team foul, and now substitutions as Josiah Johnson, Ty Scholl, and Brock Sanders come in. They'll take over for Max Hankins, Brendan Burns, who heads to the locker room to get ready for the varsity game. Free throw is no good. Rebounded up underneath by Jarvin, and his shot's no good. Watkins gives it to Green. His shot's long. Nobody can seemingly put it in the cup, and finally Hamilton Southeastern comes away with a basketball. Under a minute left in this basketball game. There's Keegan Culp. He'll give it to Brock Sanders. Sanders down low to Ty Scholl. Scholl's going to be fouled by Cameron Green. Third team foul against the Raiders with 41.8 seconds remaining, and Ty Scholl is at the line to shoot two. Misses the first of two. Ty has 1 point from the free throw line. Randy Federa back in. He'll take over for Matt Vaughter. Meanwhile, Ty with one more free throw. That one's off the back flange, falls out. And Jarvinen has the rebound for the Raiders as we head into the final 36 seconds. There's a three-ball launch, no good by Federa. Or excuse me, that was Ferning. And now a whistle underneath as it was Federa, pardon me, that launched the three. It was Ferning that went out of the game. Second personal goes against Jack Kramer as Harrison's had some chances underneath the basket here over the last few possessions. Just can't seem to put it in. As Cameron Green's free throw is no good. Green with 2 points. And missed the first, misses the second. Johnson with a rebound and gives it over to to Keegan Kohlmeyer. Kohlmeyer to Scholl, back to Kohlmeyer. 14 seconds remaining. Royals just looking to dribble this one out. Raiders, looks like they're not that interested in it, but now the final 5 seconds remaining. They give it to Scholl. Scholl wide open, but just backs it out and elects not to shoot the ball. And the buzzer ends, signifying the end of this junior varsity contest. Hamilton Southeastern defeats Harrison by the score of 53-36. Stay tuned. The varsity game is coming up in about 20 minutes. You've been watching Royals JV basketball on AudioSportsOnline.com.